A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online, so any small business can drive change or build an empire. We need a new generation of thinking. Your way of thinking. Start different at GoDaddy.com. A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online, so any small business can drive change or build an empire. We need a new generation of thinking. Your way of thinking. Start different at GoDaddy.com.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
What's up, everyone? Freddie the Pizza Man here, host of the Pizza Man podcast. Now joining forces with ChristopherMedia.net. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, the Pizza Man podcast. And, of course, find all the podcasts on ChristopherMedia.net. We talk Detroit sports. I bring on guests, passions, opinions, all for Detroit sports and more. We even talk pizza. So thanks for tuning in and spread the word.
Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer. Brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Welcome to Beer Nuts number 99. I'm Chris.
Greg.
I'm Dan in Springfield, Missouri.
Uncle Pete in Southeast Michigan.
And JR here on Grosse Ile on the Canadian border in Michigan.
Yeah, I'm way down here in Texas. Work's sending me everywhere these days, but God, it's hot.
We got the borders covered.
Yeah, but it's a good thing I got a cold beer because it was like 84 at 8 o'clock this morning and humid.
Sounds like Texas.
Yeah, it's my first time, so Texas is breaking me in right. So the theme today is what? We're doing, 99 bottles of beer? Is that where we're going with?
Episode 99. So we did 99 bottles of beer, and basically we just made our own rule up that any craft beer that comes in a bottle. So it's a pretty easy theme tonight. Anybody can pick anything that comes in a bottle. So it should be interesting. Should be some good ones tonight.
I think we got a good spread, good wide variety.
Absolutely.
Yep. So who's got our quote of the week this week?
Oh, that'd be me, Dan here. I should have kept it up and running. Here we go. Alcohol gives you infinite patience for stupidity, from Sammy Davis Jr. I think he would know a thing or two about drinking back in their day.
Bada bing, the old Rat Pack.
Yeah, well, we know a thing or two about drinking, so we should just get right to it.
Amen. I'm thirsty.
Yeah, and I believe Greg has our first beer.
Is it me? Oh, all right. All right. So my beer is from Roque Brewing Company out of Royal Oak, Michigan. And I picked this up today at Merchant's Fine Wine here in Dearborn, where I'm at. This is a kettle sour called Ice Cream Man. 5%. IBUs are 10, so it's very easy drinking. 16-ounce can. I think I picked it up in a 6-pack. And this thing's just a regular 16-ounce can, wraparound label. Pretty cool label.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Party foul. We're doing 99 bottles.
Oh, we are. Well, let's just say mine. We'll say mine's a bottle then. Oh, my God. Can I take two?
Just roll with it, man.
All right, we'll roll with it.
We'll do what we want.
All right.
It is a party foul. You'll have to pay the price at some point later.
All right.
Put that in.
Shame on me.
It sounds like great beer, so go ahead and roll with it.
Put the dunce camp on me. So here we go. Ice Cream Man from Roque Brewing Company. Just came out recently. This, like I said, is a kettle sour. And on the description here, it says, "Summertime is here, and so is the Ice Cream Man, a kettle sour ale with aromas of orange and vanilla leading into a slightly sweet tartness that is balanced and refreshing." So I'll pour it in the glass here. Nice muted orange color. Head stuck around a little bit, maybe a half a finger ahead, and dissipated quickly. So on the smell, nice orangey citrus rather. Pick up a little bit of that lactose that's in there. Very pleasant smell. Take a sip here. Oh yeah, more of that same. A little more creaminess to it from that lack. Fantastic release by Roke, and enjoying this immensely.
Even though it's in a can.
Even though it's a party foul can. My bad.
How much sourness you
Quote of the
picking
week
up?
again?
I'm sorry, John, what'd you say?
What was the quote of the week again, Dan?
Yeah, stupidity. It's been a
Sorry,
long
Dan.
day,
You know,
Chad.
you're not
It's been a long
going
day.
to live this one down for a while. That's okay.
It's been a long week. Pete, you asked about sourness, and it is a very muted sour, and I think that's the thing with kettle sours. It's, they're not aged as long as a regular sour is, much like you would get out of like a Jolly Pumpkin. So the sourness is much muted, but it's very enjoyable. I think, kettles are one of those things where somebody that wants to be introduced into a sour will be pleasantly surprised by this kind of beer, and they can gradually work their way up to even the mother puckers, as I like to call them. So, this is a fantastic little brew here.
I hear the Roke name more and more lately.
How do you spell that?
ROAK.
Okay.
It's just abbreviation, really, of the city, Royal Oak.
Royal Oak's a great beer city, too.
Fantastic.
There's a lot of great stuff going on up there. Is an Urban Rest up there? Or is that in Ferndale? Ferndale and Royal Oak are really close, but there's a lot of good breweries within about a 5-mile radius up in that neck of the woods.
See, my Royal Oak days are long gone. I can't tell you the last time I've been to 20-something, and I'm going to be 40 next year, so that to give you some perspective, it's been a minute.
Well, Dugout's not here tonight, but he lives not too far from Royal Oak, so a lot of times when I go up to his neck of the woods, I'm in the area. Occasionally we'll stop by, and a lot of good watering holes up in that area.
Great watering holes, good restaurant scene.
Absolutely.
Can't beat it.
And
Festival in
now
September.
Now a good brewery.
Yeah, great brewery.
All right. Well, that was a good beer, despite its container. Only 99 bottles to go after one can.
Wah, wah.
But that's okay. Ice Cream Man from Roke. Look for it in cans in a bottle shop near Royal Oak. So, and I think we're going to head over to Chris now in that craft beer wasteland where tumbleweeds are rolling down there in Texas, right?
Yeah, well, at least where I'm at, I'm sure it's got cities like, I'm sure if I go an hour west to Houston, or if I go up to Dallas, or if I, stop in the middle in Austin, I'm sure there's plenty of craft beer, but I am in a town that is in between, let's just say I'm, where I'm at, I'm pretty close to Louisiana. So, I mean, I am down on the Gulf Coast, halfway between Beaumont and Houston, Texas, in a little town called Winnie, and I found the craft beer in this town. Like, it's the cooler at the store I went to was quite hilarious if you're a craft beer aficionado, because it was Budweiser, Miller, Coors, and then a door that had a whole bunch of mixed beers. Most of them were like the faux crafts, and then right at the bottom was a 6-pack of this beer called Fancy Lawnmower from St. Arnold. I don't know if this is their slogan or if it's true, since it's the patron saint of brewers. It's Texas's oldest craft brewery, according to the packaging here. And it says Fancy Lawnmower is reading from their website, a true German-style Kolsch, originally brewed in Cologne. This beer is crisp and refreshing, yet has a sweet malty body that is balanced by a complex citrus hop character. Multiple editions of German. All right, guys, help me out. Hallertauer?
That's right.
Hallertau hops.
Yeah, Hallertau hops are used to achieve this delicate flavor. We use a special Kolsch yeast, an ale yeast that ferments at lager temperatures to yield the slightly fruity, clean flavor of this beer. Fancy Lawnmower beer is a world-class brew, yet light enough to be enjoyed by Texans after strenuous activities like mowing the lawn. Or, while I'm here, going outside. I told you guys it was 84 degrees at 8:30 this morning. It's hot and humid when I got in at 10:30 last night. So, this beer is nice and cold. It poured. I mean, it's got a nice amber color. It had a nice light head. It went away pretty quickly. And it's all stuff that seems pretty typical of Kolsch here. The lacing is... Just stop. When I have paper cup, I'm just going to talk about lacing because it's just hard to tell in a paper cup. So I'm just going to drink it. Can you smell it? You're getting that hop that they're talking about right in the smell, and then you drink it. I mean, this is a Kolsch. It's light in the mouth. It goes down easy. Oh, man. Almost makes me want to go stand outside in the heat to enjoy this because that's how good I think this is. I mean, fancy lawnmower. I mean, it's lawnmower beer. You know, it's kind of been a pejorative on this podcast. But then again, it's the time of year for this. I mean, this is real easy drinking, real light, really crisp. This is good stuff. I got 5 more of these that probably will not see the end of the night. Just call it a hunch.
Sounds like a summer crusher. And, you would describe that store that they didn't have a whole lot of craft. And I would imagine that, it's so hot down there that's the kind of beer that people will buy. I mean, who's going to buy a Imperial Stout when it's, 90, 100 degrees and humid? It's like you said, it's the time of year for that. And it sounds like a great alternative to those, boring faux crafts and fizzy yellow macro beers that we despise. So I think you found the golden nugget in the beer store you were at. You found the one, and great name for it. Fancy lawnmower. It's a lawnmower beer, but there's a little bit more to it, a little bit more complexity, a little bit more flavor, and
yes,
even Hank Hill can enjoy one.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot I'm in Hank Hill country.
Does it have a picture of St. Arnold, the patron saint of beer and brewing, on the can?
He is holding a beer.
They cutting the grass.
There's a lawnmower next to him.
You know what? I will say that I have had some great beers from St. Arnold, and they don't only make like this later style they have some really world class, more complex beers. Some stouts and porters and.
Oh yeah, going down their list here. Yeah, there's definitely.
They're really a first class craft brewery down there. Almost everybody I've traded with in the state of Texas sends me their stuff, so they have a great reputation. And although this is one I've never had mailed to me because it's probably less interesting than some of the others, it's very relevant for what you'd want to drink this time of year. A great selection, Chris.
Yeah, I'm not terribly far from Texas, and I've had a good number of their things too. I totally agree with you, John. They make a lot of different offerings, and they're a very, very good company. Makes some world class beer for sure.
Yeah, man. So I guess you probably found the best possible choice in that beer store for the show. So good job, Grasshopper.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to head a little bit north from Texas and move into Missouri to Lieutenant Dang. So glad to have you back, Dan. Before you review your beer, I'd just like to congratulate you on your recent pilgrimage to Dark Lord Day in Indiana. I'm jealous I never got to go, and I know we talked a little bit before you went. Could you just give us a little bit of background on that before you get into your beer, on how your experience was?
Yeah, your congratulations is a good thing to say to anyone that not only, I'm going, but makes it home is key. It is a good time. So basically a friend of a friend insisted my friend come, so he ended up recruiting me to go along with him. So last minute we got tickets, which even if you try to buy tickets you have to buy tickets online for this event, and they sell out within like minutes. You just luck of the draw. And so everybody, if they want to, can buy 2 tickets. So then after the fact, we were all going online trying to find people that would sell us their second ticket. And it usually can be done. You kind of kick them in a few good, some good beers but the group, there's a couple of Facebook groups and stuff. They're very cool about keeping the price point for people selling these tickets at face value. So that was really cool. There was no price gouging going on for that. But the event itself was awesome because we got there at 7 a.m. and we just hooked up with my buddy's friends and we bottle shared outside. And then they allow you to bring up to 72 ounces into the fest with you. So everybody's got like backpacks on with beer in it. And you go into the fest and they do different allotments through the day. So they split it up into different groups. And when you get to go in and pick up your Dark Lord bottles. And so that's kind of cool. And that helps with the flow of everything. And there's on one far end of the event, there's nonstop pretty much from like noon or sometime, I don't know, even when they started, metal bands playing all day long. But we were far enough away. The grounds are big enough. We didn't really even hear them, or we didn't go over there. We were too busy, just basically bottle sharing all day long. And you can go. They have these booths and tents all around. You can go and try to get pours. They had a tap list for the first time this year of exactly what time they were tapping every different beer that was going to be poured that day. So like all the different variants of Dark Lord. Like Marshmallow Hanji, they could be at this tent at 9 o'clock or this tent at noon when they were tapping it. And then you might have to wait in line an hour. But and there's Beer Barrel Time from Side Project, and just crazy beers were poured even in these tents. It was awesome. But I ended up finding enough people that as they came out of picking up their Dark Lord beers, that I bought some of their rare. You get one rare variant bottle in your bag, and you have no idea what it is until you go and they hand it to you and you pull it out and look at it. So a lot of people like Marshmallow Hanji, which is just huge vanilla. It's all imperial stouts, and then Chemtrail Mix or French Vanilla Militia. And so a lot of people would sell those to you at a much higher price point. But try to buy them, find some people willing to sell them, and it was a lot of fun. It was a blast. And then, we did good though. All of us, it was cool because the group we were with. I'll say this: one of our favorite parts about it all is it was a very responsible, mature group, and so that was great. Even though it was a wild time and we were having some of the best beers of my life, everybody was really cool and calm. A lot of guys passed. They said, "Oh, no thanks, I'm good." They passed on bottles of beer, getting to taste different things because they just knew it was a big day, long day, and everybody wanted to maintain and be cool. So we had a great time. That being said, if you look up videos, there was one big incident from this one lady and her boyfriend that got a little out of hand, and they're pretty wild and crazy times. I'm not gonna dish on that anymore. If anybody wants to look it up, they can find it, I'm sure, if they do a little digging. But it was made for some awesome, and we didn't even know it until after the fact. We saw some crazy stuff going on. Anyways, sorry.
It went viral. You're talking about Beezy, right?
Yeah.
It went viral. Just look up Beezy. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Exactly. So thank you for allowing me to indulge in that. That was a great week. We went up Friday. We all took off work Friday. We got up there. We got some dinner at 18th Street Brewery, stayed the night in the hotel so we get there first thing in the morning Saturday, and then we had another night in the hotel Saturday night, came back home Sunday. And we were all like, man, on Sunday, we're like, I feel pretty good. We were preparing for the worst. And every one of us, there's three of us that went up from down here, and we're like, we feel pretty good. We felt pretty good about ourselves being we had a great time. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we didn't, but we're all mature and responsible. So it was cool.
Well, I know it's a marathon, not a sprint. So
yeah.
Glad that you survived it all. I know every time I consider going, I see the picture of the guy with 50 bottles around him, making his little silhouette the police put in around the body, and I'm like, that could be me if I go. Yeah. So I probably shouldn't go to this. I have a wife and kids, and so I always pass every year. I just think it's a little bit the risk and the reward don't match for me. But I'm glad that you had a great time and that you weren't that guy. And so thanks for sharing your experience with us. So now I'll invite you to share your beer with us. And hey, we will tie that story into the 99 beers because you get lot of bottled beers when you come out of the Dark Lord Day. You get up to six of the regular Dark Lords.
No, you get
four
regular and one variant. Yeah, 4 and 1.
Okay. What variant did you get? May I ask?
I got hung, drawn, and quartered, which is the rye barrel aged version.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Yeah, I think I haven't even had it yet. I've had a bunch of the other ones, and I think after kind of all the vanilla different versions, it's kind of probably next in line of people's favorites. This year they did 12 different variants, and a lot of them are like really obscure wine barrel variations. So, sweet wine barrels, like think port, or that fortified wine from Spain and Portugal. Different, weird, not even port, but there was one actually port, but so it's kind of weird. So the rye barrel, a lot of people said it is drinking amazing. And then, of course, the other ones I mentioned are usually the favorites, the go-tos, but I would definitely consider going back and book a hotel as soon as possible so you can get as close as possible. All right, let's get to some new beer. I'm drinking this brand new one called Distant Land from Perennial. It's part of their Brett series, and Perennial is out of St. Louis, Missouri. It's about 3 hours across the state from me. And I have never had this beer. It's in a 375 milliliter bottle, which is kind of the champagne-styled bottle, big lid, but it was capped, not corked and capped, or corked and caged. I'm glad that the guy at the store told me they're going to start doing. We'll probably see more of these smaller bottles because in the past they've always been 750s, which they can be great, but a lot of times their price point, especially for Perennial beers, can be really high. They can be $15 to $20 or $25 for some of their beers. So I like the smaller bottle and the smaller price point. It makes it easier to consume just on a Wednesday night. This beer is a golden. Well, let me read you the description first because it'll make more sense on how I describe the beer and what it looks like. It is. It's a Belgian saison brewed with flaked oats, fermented with our house saison strain, then package conditioned naturally with Brettanomyces. And it's 6.2%. There's also a late hop addition of Mosaic to lend a slightly tropical flavors. Distant Land is an ode to the melding of classic Belgian beers with new American brewing techniques. Lightly hoppy, lightly funky, to help us get us through the long nights of winter. And it says winter, but man, this is a great summer beer too. It's here, let me go through this real quick. It's got a nice. It's got that traditional saison head that's really white, tiny, tiny bubbles. In the body that you can really tell it's got brewed with the flaked oats. It's cloudy. It's almost turbid. I mean, I can barely see the silhouette of my fingers through it, but it's a bright golden color, and it's got just a little. It's like the descriptions, a little funky and a little. I don't even really get the Mosaic popping through. It's just kind of mellow on the tartness. Sometimes, a saison or farmhouse ale can have a little more tartness or kind of that brightness that will sometimes come through. This is just kind of mellow on that, but it's there a little bit, just lightly. Take a quick sip. Yeah, it's just a beautiful sipper. It's got almost a melon, almost citrus flavor that does come through a little bit over the tongue. Beautiful, smooth, silky body to it. Not. Sometimes Belgian can be real light and real, almost harsh on the palate. Not harsh, but just real acidic. Or this is creamy, almost in comparison to what you might normally think with the saison. So, loving it. I definitely would buy another bottle of this to enjoy again. I mean, after a long day, just something to relax where you don't really want anything heavy or want too many of. This is definitely a nice drinker. Goes
Sounds
down
like
nice.
It would have been perfect for Dark Lord Day.
No, we were searching for whales.
Well, I'm sure, but as far as longevity.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, longevity. Yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing that beer and your experience at Dark Lord Day. Really should have reviewed a Dark Lord, but episode 100 is coming up soon. Maybe you can join us for that one. And review the soy sauce. If you don't, I will, because I have a couple from last year.
Nice.
And I have one coming from this year. So
nice.
And at some point, Dan and I will get our trade finalized too, and maybe we can get some more stuff coming up. But all right. Well, thank you, Lieutenant Dang. We're glad to have you back. Great state.
Glad to be back.
Show me state of Missouri. We're now going to take a break and go to the hipster tipster segment of the show. A couple things coming up at Old Nation. Number one, they're having their International Festival of Lagers this weekend, which will probably be taking place by the time this episode is released. But kind of a cool thing, the first time this has ever been done, and there's a great lineup of great breweries bringing some really high quality, fancy lawnmower beers, great lagers and pilsners. The list of breweries and beers was released today, and there were some really real gems on there. Not a very celebrated style. The lagers kind of get kicked to the curb because they're fizzy and yellow, but again, it's that hot time of year. So, but even more great news from Old Nation, one of our favorite Michigan breweries, is they have a new beer that I believe was released in the tap room yesterday. It's a Full Earth Double India Pale Ale. The label says 10.08% ABV, 50 IBUs. Malt, pills, wheat, oat, and rice. Dry hop, Cryo Laurel and Cryo Cascade. Boil hop, Centennial Columbus, Cascade, the Triple C. So look for a new DIPA from Old Nation. Check your local store after June 1st. So next week, these should be hitting shelves out here in Michigan, guys. So for those of us in the Mitten State, great beer to look forward to from one of our favorite breweries. I think this is kind of taking the rotation place of Boss Tweed, which is at this point my favorite beer that Old Nation produces. But let's see what this new one has to offer and give it a shot. So that's coming out. Let's see a couple other things in the news. Double Trouble from Founders, another double IPA. That is kind of, I guess it was in circulation or in distribution for several years. And they stopped producing it for whatever reason. And lo and behold, limited release is on right now. This was announced May 29th. So Uncle Pete and I happen to be Mug Club members, and I know that you can go to Detroit Tap Room and grab some of that. So I think that's a mission that you and I are up for, Pete.
You bet.
Be lunch one day next week. We can go grab some.
I agree.
It's a great brew. It really is. So that's good news. And one other thing I wanted to mention for the home brewing community. One of the, this ties into where Chris is down in Texas. One of the most coveted sour brewers in the country, Jester King Brewery, has shared 6 of their beer recipes scaled down for home brewers. So you can go to, it's actually from homebrewersassociation.org, but I retweeted it on my Michigan Beer Guy Twitter account. So go to Twitter and look me up at Michigan Beer Guy, and you can see that article. And get those recipes. So those of you into the sour scene, these are fantastic sours, and Jester King's actually opening up their books and sharing these recipes with the homebrewing community, which I think is really totally cool. They don't have to do that, and I always love when breweries are kind to the homebrewery community, and almost all of them are. And when they go so far as actually scale them for a home brewer, that's really cool. So I wanted to mention that.
That's and you know they got to probably leave like 1 or 2 ingredients out, right? Like they're not giving you the whole secrets to the sauce, are they?
I think the craft beer community is really pretty tight-knit and pretty down-to-earth guys. And they're like, hey, we got guys, brewing in their garages. Let's help them out. They like our beers. It's really, it's a celebration of the whole craft beer. I'm struggling to find the right word. The community, the sense of belonging. one for all. What the rising tide floats all boats. We all help each other here, and that's really camaraderie. There you go, and that's just how 95% of craft brewers are that way. They're like, hey, we're all in this together. You celebrate drinking local and supporting independent craft brewers, like when Andy was on a couple weeks ago. I mean, that's what you do. It's not like us against the next craft brewer down the street. It's us against the macro, the evil empires of the world. So great stuff that they do that. And Uncle Pete, I think you had one thing that you wanted to share with us, didn't you?
Yeah, I looked up some news and just kind of, give props to some of the breweries that step in the community when there's a need. And we've talked about a few examples of that on some prior episodes. But Maui Brewing out of Hawaii brewed a beer with all the profits from this beer to go to benefit the Kauai flood victims. And I mean, here you've got a paradise, but you have all these, catastrophic events in paradise with volcanoes and flooding. So props to Maui Brewing. They brewed a beer called Kokua Golden Ale, and Kokua translates as extending loving sacrificial help to others for their benefit and not for personal gain in Hawaiian. So, I go for that. I think any brewery that steps in when the community's in need, and, whether they this is the bottle episode, so whether they bottle water or can water, for a catastrophe, or put together kits, things that are needed by the local people. So, good story. And going on over in Hawaii where they need it.
Amen. Yep. Maui Brewing, our hats off to you. We raise our glasses and thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by those events out there. You see all those lava eruptions taking people's neighborhoods out, and you got to feel for what those people are going through in their lives. So great job by them. And as much as we rip on the evil empire and some of the bigger breweries, they are often pitching in and doing similar things. So sometimes you got to put down the swords and thank everybody that rallies around a disaster. So we'll raise our glass even to them too. So God bless all the breweries that help in time of need. And again, a rising tide floats all boats. So, all right, well, that's about it for the Hipster Tipster. I think Uncle Pete's got his beer coming up, and then I'll finish it off with the grand finale. So, Uncle Pete, you're up.
All right. Well, behind the scenes, you wouldn't have known it, but I was ready to pop my beer, and I didn't have an opener, so I found an object in the drawer that did the trick.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
It's like I used the end of a wet, dry erase marker.
You've always been a MacGyver-type guy, Uncle Pete.
The beer is open, you succeeded.
I bought the book for my son and stuck it in his Christmas stocking. It was, 100 ways to open a bottle of beer. So he really liked that. So what I have...
99, right?
Yeah. What I have today is a core brew from one of my favorite breweries, New Holland Brewing, and that brew happens to be Dragon's Milk. This is just a straight-up bourbon barrel-aged stout. This is not one of the variants that has any extra flavors added. But it's an OG. It's the original guy here. So this stout has a roasty malt character intermingled with deep vanilla tones, all dancing in an oak bath, according to the website. This has been kind of hiding down in my cellar. It's not very old. It was bottled September 1st of 17, so we're running up on around 9 months. And this is an 11% ABV beer. IBUs of 31. I got a number of grains in there, 2 hops, Nugget and Brewer's Gold hops, and uses an American ale yeast. First introduced in 2001. So this beer has some experience behind it, and I most people I talk to and say, to have conversations about barrel-aged stouts, undoubtedly Dragon Milk comes up numerous times from a lot of people I talk to. So it's popular, it's widely available, it's a year-round brew. Some of the variants they do are released at different times throughout the year, but this one you can get year-round. So they talk about some food pairings with this. Goes good with red meat, smoked foods, balsamic, rich cheeses, and dark chocolate. And, that tells me that this beer has got a lot of bold flavor to match a lot of those bold flavors. So I'm going to pour it up. And I've got this at just above, I'd say it's probably a little warm actually. It's probably around 55, 60 degrees, but that's okay. Poured really well. Got a nice long-lasting tan-colored head on it. Just putting out tons of aroma. Very biscuity, doughy, bready aroma. And then comes a little bit of smoke and chocolate. And this is just as I remember it always, with a very sweet, malty, chocolatey, dry, roasty flavor. The alcohol doesn't really hit me. It's mild on the barrel, in my opinion, but I get a lot of the, I guess, smokiness from it, from the char. This is a great beer. I love Dragon's Milk. I love all the variants too. And if you want to try a bourbon barrel stout, I would highly recommend this one due to its availability, and it has a great reputation. I know I could probably say that everybody on the call tonight has had this beer. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first craft beers I ever had.
Right. So New Holland, out of Holland, Michigan. They also have a satellite tap room in Grand Rapids called the Knickerbocker. I've been to New Holland Brewing and sat down and tried numerous Dragon's Milk.
And it's not, it's reasonably priced. It's very available, and because of that, it maybe gets overlooked, but it really is a high quality beer that you can get readily available. You don't have to chase a truck. You don't have to trade. You don't have to spend a fortune. It's old, reliable, and it gets overlooked only simply because it's available, and that's really wrong, because it's a gem that deserves a little bit more respect than it gets. Some people in the craft beer world judge a value on rarity rather than what's in the bottle, and I will put this up against any of those rare ones, and it holds its own. And the reason it's readily available is a lot of people may not know New Holland also distills, and they make whiskey and they make a great gin.
I wanted to mention that.
And you get the barrels they get their own barrels that they put their own whiskey in, and then they can just use them with their own beer. So it's a great symbiotic relationship there between their distillery and their brewery, that they have a nice advantage, and that's why you can actually get this at a reasonable price. So
I got
my brother lives in Pennsylvania, and whenever I go back, he asks me to bring some of that, because he's not really a craft beer guy, but he's had it, and he's like, well, that's the one bourbon barrel beer that I know is not hard for me to bring to him, and he loves it. So yeah, it's a solid offering, many times overlooked. I know us in Michigan, we overlook it because we can go to the grocery store and buy a bomber or a 4-pack any day of the week, but solid as they come.
It's one of I recommend people to try if they want to graduate out of just porters and stouts and try something barrel aged. This is, go get a Dragon's Milk, because everything you just said, it's fantastic, and you can get it down here anyways in Missouri.
I was going to share the Artisan Spirits John's talking about, New Holland making their own spirits. I'm now on my second fifth of their beer barrel bourbon, and I find it to be so tasty and so smooth. I don't normally go out and buy bottles of bourbon, but this time I've gone out and I'm on my second one now, and they're not lasting very long. I'm sharing it with everybody that comes by. This is a bourbon that's aged in American oak barrels, and then they age it in a Dragon's Milk stout barrel. So thus the beer barrel bourbon. And it just comes up with a smooth, malty, caramely. It's not very hot, but it's just full flavored, and I get hints of malt in it myself. From being second finished in a Dragon's Milk barrel. So this is on my list to keep drinking Dragon's Milk. But now that I've found this beer barrel bourbon by New Holland Artisan Spirits and its connection to Dragon's Milk, I'm hooked.
Yeah, I have a bottle of that too. And isn't it cool to have a bourbon aged in a beer barrel rather than a beer aged in a bourbon barrel? How cool is that?
That is cool.
I'd have to send Lieutenant Dang one of those in his next box. Never had Lieutenant Dang.
No, I haven't, and I know that I've seen it. I don't know if I've seen that one, or do they do different ones or is that the only one that's aged in a beer barrel?
I believe that's the only one that aged in a beer barrel, but they do make other malt whiskeys, and there's one in particular I'd like to mention. It's called Zeppelin Bend.
Yeah.
It's about $60-$70 a bottle, but it's worth every dime. It's an American single malt whiskey, twice distilled and aged in new American oak barrels with a heavy char. Notes of vanilla and cocoa arise from a slightly caramelized spirit, leading to a classic American oak finish. So, obviously, I'm reading that from their website, but I had somebody recommend this to me, and I had a shot of it at a bar one night, and I was like, wow, that's one of the best whiskeys I've ever had. It's 90 proof. It's 100% malted barley fermentation done in-house. And so that has nothing to do with it's not aged in beer barrels, but it's another great spirit that they produce.
They do have a rye whiskey that they do in a beer barrel.
They do? Okay.
Yeah, and they also have a Zeppelin Bend Reserve that's aged in a sherry barrel. The beer barrel rye, twice distilled and aged in American oak barrels before finishing in Dragon's Milk barrels. Aroma of vanilla and allspice leads to flavor of honey and almond before a lingering spicy finish. I might have to get one of those now, too. Okay, so back to bottled beer. New Holland Dragon's Milk. I'm very pleased with this beer, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of this one. Wish you guys could have some with me.
Well, we all can because it's so readily available. So,
JR, have you gotten any of this year's reserves, like the salted caramel version or the chocolate cherry?
Yep, I've had both of them. The salted caramel was really impressive. Very, very sweet, almost to the sweetness like one and done. A little sweet, but very enjoyable. And the chocolate cherry I've had too is very solid. And I would say almost all the Dragon's Milks really aren't. You're not going to sit down and drink a 4-pack of them. One or two and done. But the salted caramel was very sweet, had a great flavor, but kind of like that Southern Tier creme brulee where, it's so sweet that you gotta limit how much you drink. But it comes in a 12-ounce bottle, and that's a perfect serving for that. But yeah, I've had them. I've actually been. They had a coconut rum barrel one a couple years ago that I really, really liked. That was one of my favorite variants. I've been pleased with almost all their variants, other than the raspberry one. It just isn't my thing, but s'mores
I remember.
was good. Yeah.
S'mores, Mexican spice cake.
Yeah, I love the Mexican spice cake. Yeah. I still have some in my cellar. So, yeah, whenever you see those, grab them. There's not that much around. They usually come out, 3 or 4 variants a year, and, they come and they go. So if you find one you really like, buy them, or if you can't find any, get with somebody from Michigan because they they hit our distro pretty good. I think they see distro pretty thorough in their whole footprint. I'm not sure exactly how far their distribution footprint extends, but I know it's several states. So, but yeah, well, hats off to them for making a great bourbon barrel beer available every day on the shelf. It's great to, just be able to walk into a store and know that you have the old standby. And that's what this is the old standby. You can always rely on it. It's always great, and it's always available. And that's what's awesome.
Yep.
So it's maybe not a whale or something that everybody treasures, but it's perfect for this episode because it's one of the bottled beers that's really iconic and brings bourbon barrel beers to the masses, and a very high quality bourbon barrel beer. So great choice.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. I've saved the grand finale. This is a beer that I actually had to trade for. It was one that did hit distribution around me, and I remember going to the local store within hours of it hitting the shelf, and only to find out that I was already sold out. But you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way, and I did manage to get a bottle through a trader. So I am going to share. I thought about saving this for the 100th episode, but I only have one 12-ounce bottle, and I figured I can either bring it to that and get an ounce and a half of it and share with others, or pour it all for myself and drink it tonight. So I've chosen to be selfish. So this is, without further ado, Bourbon Paradise from Prairie Artisan Ales. No stranger to Lieutenant Dang out in his area of the country, at Prairie in Oklahoma. So I just popped it. I'm going to pour it. All the Prairie beers, I don't know if I've ever had a Prairie beer that I was disappointed in, but we'll see what happens here. I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm not going to just anoint it because it was hard to get. And so kind of the 180-degree turnaround from the beer that Pete had. This there was a nice cola-flavored head, but it fizzed out immediately, and there is zero head on this thing. Very few bubbles. It looks like it's just flat as a board and black as can be. Can't see through it. It's coal black. But then I go take a sniff of this, and I'm getting vanilla, bourbon, maybe a little dark fruit. Mostly bourbon. It really got a very strong bourbon. So let's take a sip. Roasted malt, dried fruit, whiskey, coconut. I forgot there was coconut in this. So there's not much to read on the label. I think this isn't one of their iconic beers. It is pretty limited. It's 15.9% alcohol by volume. Woo! It's bourbon barrel aged imperial stout aged with coconut and vanilla. I can definitely taste the coconut, which is nice because a lot of coconut beers fade. I haven't had this more than maybe about 6 months. Didn't get it very long ago, so it hasn't been sitting in the cellar for years. But I'm getting, more vanilla on that taste. And it's been sitting here the entire time that we've, I'm glad that I went last tonight because it's warmed up to that nice temperature where flavors emerge. I guess the only thing that would be negative about it is there's almost no carbonation in it. It's almost like drinking a flat beer. But when I popped it, there was a little zest there, so it's not like it was non-carbonated. It's just a style and a strength at 16% alcohol that I don't think it really needs to be a fizzy beer. I can promise each of you that you wish you were in the room with me and tasting that 1.5 ounce I should have shared with you, because it's going to take me a long time to drink this. It's one of those ones that you don't just want to make go away very soon. It's a sipper. There's the first thing I taste when I taste it. I'm going to do this again because it tastes so good. The first thing that jumps out is vanilla. It follows up with a little bit of coconut, and then it just maybe a little bit more vanilla, and then the whiskey is in there. And you don't taste vanilla, you don't taste coconut, you don't just taste whiskey. It all blends together in that concert I so often speak of that all the flavors are there, but they come together as one in a really, really good way. I don't think anybody that has ever had a Bourbon Barrel Prairie Beer would be surprised by this. You all know how good of a job they do with this stuff. I'm sure Dan can expand on it, and I'm sure Dan has probably had this. Maybe I'm wrong, but anything to add, Dan?
Yeah, it's all you're right on. I mean, all their barrel age program lately has just been on fire. The last probably year to 2 years, I don't know what they've done, but if they've found something in their brewing process, or if it's the barrels they're getting and where they're getting them from. But it's just that it's got that great mouthfeel. They're a little bit higher in alcohol, and it just all the flavors blend together so well with everything that you want in an imperial stout. It's a little sweet. It's not sweet, but it's a little bit on the, I mean, if you're going to get to 15, 16%, you're going to have a little sweetness to the beer, but that adds to the mouthfeel too. That it's just, but it all just melts together all so well, like you've kind of already described.
And what you want to do when you taste this beer is you want to swish it around all corners of your mouth. Make sure it touches all your taste buds, because I just did that, and now I'm getting more wood, more roasty malt, more dried dark fruits, figs, raisins, prunes. Every sip this is just getting more and more dynamic, and it's. I know that sometimes you walk into the store and you see a $10 or $12 beer that's 12 ounces, and you're like, too rich for my blood. Well, I don't flinch when I see a Prairie beer. I don't care what the price is. It can be $15 for a 12 ounce, because the quality is in the bottle, and that's pretty much the best statement I can give about their beers. They're high end. The Bourbon Barrel Bible Belt, I think, is one. Birthday Bomb, Prairie Bomb's great. You just can't go wrong when you see Prairie on the label. Be prepared to pay, and don't worry about it. You'll be satisfied every time. Anybody else have any comments on the Prairie beers?
Well, what I'm astounded by is they did the single barrel versions basically for the members. The members in their club, the Prairie Dogs, could buy a barrel for a really high price, and then they could add whatever adjuncts, whatever flavors they wanted to it. And I've tasted a handful of those different Prairie Dog, those custom beers, and I'm amazed that everyone that I've had anyways has been fantastic, just like this Bourbon Paradise that you're describing. And normally when we drink a barrel-aged beer, I mean, not to get down into the weeds of it, but you're talking about 50 barrels or 100 barrels that are all blended together. So the fact that every one of these barrels has been really fantastic. I don't know, maybe they're blending their barrels and starting, and then they just add adjuncts to a single barrel's worth of beer. So I'd be interested to know maybe that's how they come to it. That must be how they do it, to get the beer that all tastes fantastic. But that Prairie Dogs program is awesome if you can get your hand on one of those bottles, right, JR?
I would agree, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because now I don't feel so guilty about chipping you guys out of trying this, because I have a bottle of Donkey Punch that I will bring to episode 100. And we'll get that 1.5 ounces, and it'll be a fantastic, one of the highest rated dogs, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll talk later too, because I think I have one heading your way. That was one of the ones that I was privileged enough to have access to. But Donkey Punch was a double marshmallow one. So yeah, Prairie, unbelievable barrel program they have. Don't hesitate to pay whatever the cost may be. Price is no object with the quality these guys put out. So my only regret is that there's not more beer nuts with me to share tonight. Sometimes Uncle Pete makes it here, but I'm actually probably glad for him, because at 16%, he probably shouldn't be driving after having some of this. But episode 100, look for some Donkey Punch. One of the many Prairie Dogs.
Waiting to happen.
No, I think Uber or Lyft might be in our future for episode 100. I'm hoping.
joke that went over everybody's head. A couple people out there got what I
All right, guys, we had some great beers tonight. I wanted to give an honorable mention to Columbus Brewing Company in Columbus, Ohio, for their Bodie Double India Pale Ale. I wanted to review it on this episode, but I couldn't overlook my Bourbon Paradise. But I had my first Bodie tonight, and it's one of the best double IPAs I've ever had. Fortunately, I have 3 more bottles, so that might make it to episode 102. But great beer by Columbus Brewing that I almost was going to review on here, but I think time's probably up on me. But that was a great beer that we'll review another time, which was my first beer of the night. So I still have probably 3/4 of this Bourbon Paradise to go, and I think I'm going to sleep really well tonight at 16%. But not only 16%.
Chug it.
No, I can't do that. You know what? That would be such a travesty to waste
YouTube
it. So,
like the guy that chugged the Utopias.
Well, what was the quote? What was the quote at the beginning of the show? Had to do with stupidity and alcohol. Well, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to sit here and sip this for another 30 minutes and enjoy every drop, because that's how this beer is meant to be tasted. And then, I got to give credit to Lieutenant Dang, who survived Dark Lord Day by making similar decisions, not to be stupid. So you get to enjoy the day if you make good decisions, right?
That's right.
I think so. All right. Well, any final comments before we go to Mexico City, gentlemen?
think you could still enjoy the day, just it's shorter if you make bad decisions.
Well, I would like to say that episode 100 is upon us. Our next episode will be the century mark. I will say that going into the summer, we may be taking a few weeks off, so probably look for us to do maybe an episode every other week. Maybe not. Depends if everybody's available, but it's that time of year where we might be doing that. But what I would like to say is don't miss our next episode, because it's going to be a rip-roaring one. It might go a little bit over time, but I think we're going to pull out all the stops for it. I mean, you only get to have a century mark once. So, episode 100. Anybody, any hints on what you might be bringing or drinking? And those of you like Lieutenant Dang who can't make it to Michigan, we're going to probably do it on a Saturday afternoon, a couple weeks. So, nice. But we hope you will take time out of your schedule to, even if you can't Skype in for the whole thing, just Skype in and do one beer and pop out if you have to.
Absolutely. If I can make it, I'll be there.
Any whales anybody can bring to the table? Any what do we want looking for? What do they call them? Spoilers?
Oh, I got one, JR.
Well, hey, come on, spill the beans.
Starts with a B.
Well, I mean, and let's clarify.
Ends with an E.
I'm kind of in cahoots with Pete on this, because there's a long story behind it, and I don't think we need to go through it. But why don't you just say Bramble?
Bramble.
Pre-Anheuser-Busch, Bourbon County.
That's awesome.
There's a story behind it that we may or may not share, but we will certainly share the Bramble.
Yep. That's my whale spoiler.
I had one of those at Dark Lord Day.
There you go.
I might have a homage or two. Well, no, maybe not two, but maybe one.
Funny you mentioned that. We're actually, me and my buddies, that we went up there to Dark Lord Day, and a few other guys, we're going to do a Bourbon County share coming up in just a couple of weeks. So that should be good. We've got a handful of variants and then a handful of vertical to go through.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Dang, you got vanilla rye, right?
We do. We have a vanilla rye. We just got a Prop 17. I've got a rare. It'll be good.
Well, we need you to review that on our episode 100.
It will be the third time I've had it.
That's okay. Anybody else? Greg, anything? Anything in your cellar? Cough it up, bro. Hey, and you're invited to join us in Clawson. We'll give you the details later.
Yeah. I don't know what I'll have to look. I don't know. We'll have to see. I got a few things.
And don't be despondent if you don't have any total whales. Remember, the moral of our show is we're not beer snobs.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
something that's
I gotta actually see what I actually have, so I don't even remember.
you could bring an OG anything, and we'd be happy.
There you go.
Drink what you like, folks. That's what I always tell people.
Absolutely. That's right. But and maybe we won't make our episode 100 all about whales, because that's not what we're about. We're about whatever you like.
As long as you drink it.
Well, amen. So, Chris, any final tweet here? Follow us here. Get us some glasses, please, by episode 100.
Speed of other people. I know I'm a broken record, man. But if I had graphic design capabilities, that shit would have been made a year ago.
All right. Well, maybe I'll just have to step up and do it myself.
Yeah. But anyway, and two, I need to find better
100 glasses. We need episode 100 glasses.
No, you don't. At this pace, don't you mean episode 200?
No, that is deserved.
No, you know what?
Wow.
I think we make an episode 100 glass and we give the password sometime during the episode, so only the people that listen to it get to have it. We'll work it out, guys. We always do.
Yes.
But at 16%, I am digressing rapidly, so we should probably head to Mexico City before
follow me on Instagram for random beer stuff like Dark Lord Day. Dan Geis, that's GEISZ.
And follow the show at Beer Nuts Podcast on Twitter, at Beer Nuts Podcast on Instagram. And if you want to email us, you can email us at beernutspodcast, ChristopherBeatty.net.
Hey, you know what? Uncle Pete's on Twitter, too. Tweet.
Ooh.
What's your Twitter, Pete?
Oh, man, you put me on the spot. You know what? I don't think about it. I don't think about it much, but let me look it up.
Right the here. Real Donald Trump.
No, I got it. It's at Pete Jet, PETEJETT. One Hip Daddy-O.
You guys all know One Hip Daddy-O. That's what it is.
Well, that's the name, but
Well, I know, but our listeners need to know the name.
It's at Pete Jet. Yeah, One Hip Daddy-O.
All right, and at Michigan Beer Guy here, JR, signing off with my 16% Bourbon Paradise. I'm in a great place, and we're going to be in a greater place. The next time you hear our podcast, it'll be the century mark. I have to say, we missed Doug out tonight. He's out on assignment in Grand Rapids tonight, but we're thinking of him. Salute to Doug, and he will be hosting episode 100 at his humble abode, so... Next time you hear the show, it'll be a big one, and we're all in, man. So hopefully every beer nut that's ever appeared can be on, and Dan will give you details. It is on a weekend day when we're recording. But episode 100, hey, everybody raise your glass. It's been a great run, and look forward to the next 100.
Cheers to that.
99 beers on the wall, one more to go to 100.
All right.
Cheers, brothers. Everybody ready to go to Mexico?
You got it, sir.
Yeah.
Because we're not ready to build that wall yet, because we're going to Mexico City while the wall's not built. So as they say in old Mexico City, AML.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online, so any small business can drive change or build an empire. We need a new generation of thinking. Your way of thinking. Start different at GoDaddy.com.